But you're playing Titanfall 2, which the first time around didn't really have a story. It had some sort of story baked into the loading screens of the multiplayer.
They gave that kind of half answer with Titanfall 1 where they were like, hey, there's a story that's in the multiplayer. It's like, no, there's not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a setting. That's not really a story. Like, maybe there's flavor text on in the codexes or whatever you pick up. But yeah, this is the first time they've actually come out and been like, here's characters. Here's a universe. Here's actually like an idea of what's going on. And end of the day, it is pretty much kind of a shooter in space. It's kind of military stuff. But I will say, I beat the campaign this morning. It's not long. It's like a good. I would say 6-ish hours. Like you can get through it in a weekend without feeling like you're really just burning yourself out.
Which I think is decently long for a single player shooter campaign.
Yeah, and it's really fun. Like it's a fun game to play. First of all, like mechanically it's all there, and then in terms of the actual like story setup, like it kind of hits you over the head with trying to be like, oh, it's a gritty, M-rated, manly AAA kind of aggro military thing. But as you kind of get into it, you're like, hold on now, this is Saturday morning cartoon. Like this is totally like some Exo Squad goofball nonsense. Like this is
a good thing to hear.
This is a buddy adventure with a big robot boy who's like, it's kind of a little bit chappy, a little bit Iron Giant, but you're using like badass machine guns to make people explode into clouds of blood. The structure of the gameplay is, I think at a glance it's easy to be like, oh, it's a shooter with free running. There's some really interesting mechanics hidden in there. Like there are levels where you're just like, you get a thing that totally throws you for a loop, and you're like, am I doing this right now?
Yeah.
Like, what's this? I don't want to spoil anything, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised with it. And honestly, it reminded me a lot of games that came out a long time ago. Like when shooters were kind of simpler but weirder at the same time. At that point where like you could rent a game and it was like, you'd take it home for the weekend and you'd play through the campaign. You'd be like, that was a good time. You have some friends over and screw around with the multiplayer. Yeah, the campaign just feels very like, it feels like a Mega Man game kind of.
That's awesome.
Like you fight these big robot boys and then you get new robot weapons for your big robot friend. And then, as you get through, it's simultaneously the best Mega Man game we've gotten in quite some time and the best Avatar game we probably ever will get, because in addition to big mech fights, there's also like these robot or these cat dinosaur aliens you gotta fight. But yeah, like on top of it just kind of feeling like sort of just wonderfully like unpretentious sort of throwback stuff, it's like, it doesn't have a season pass. They're pretty much like, hey, all the maps that we're putting out as kind of post-launch DLC, they're free. If you buy the game, you get them.
Yeah.
And there's a day one patch, but it's like 90 megabytes.
Right.
Megabytes.
Which is the size of a picture of a day one patch.
Yeah, for context, my save file in Titanfall, which I put up on the cloud, is like 13 or 14 megs, so I don't know what's in that patch.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, I saw in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group, people were just, they just got a patch for, I believe it was Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And they had to like delete games off their hard drive because
yeah, what the hell? That's nuts. But yeah, like Titanfall, I went in kind of being like, I'm gonna see where this goes. I'm curious about it. It's not groundbreaking story-wise, but I'm almost really happy with that. Like, it's kind of fun to sit back with something that's kind of loud and stupid and colorful and fun. I don't like Far Cry, for instance. Like the campaigns in those games are like 30 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. It gets to a point where like I want to beat a game. Like I want to fight a last boss, and I don't want it to be like something that takes me over a year to do. Like I spent like, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours in The Witcher, and obviously that's a different kind of game, but like sometimes like time sinks are awesome, but sometimes you just want to burn through something and have a good time, and then jump into multiplayer and screw around with your friends, and Titanfall seems to be nailing that, and one of the big complaints that people had with the first game was that all the post-launch maps and stuff were paid, so it totally fragmented the player base, and they're totally not doing this time around, so... I mean,
is this like good guy EA? Because I kind of like
what the hell?
this,
like I saw Vince Zambella tweet it out, and then somebody had, like one of the first replies was, "Does EA know about this? Because they're gonna be pissed." But yeah, Titanfall 2, it's out this weekend. If you're even remotely curious about it, I think check it out. It's fun as crap. So there you go.
I love it. I cannot wait to play this game. Like I said, I'm not going to play a ton of multiplayer. Maybe I'll get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is all great stuff. I love Exo Squad. I love Mega Man. I love robots, and I love really awesome first-person shooter campaigns because we haven't had a great one in a while.